guys, Towers here. Welcome back to DMZ. As you guys know, the game is in a dead state. It's no longer being supported by the devs. No more updates. Player count is likely fading, although I've never seen any official numbers. And one reason the player count is fading, besides the game being, as close to offline as possible, is that the cheating is rampant, and there are many glitches in the game. Many, otherwise legitimate players are using exploits and glitches to gain competitive advantages. And then you have the guys that are outright hacking, that are using walls, aimbots, that are DDoSing the servers. And unfortunately, I was on a team with a hacker earlier last stream, and I was playing duos with a buddy. And as it goes, many times when you are a legitimate player playing duos in a game that's in a state like this, you're attempting to survive. The game has an assimilation feature. You're able to join other squads as you die and bleed out. And my teammate and I were separated. We had just spawned in at port at the ship, and I had gone to start looting the ship, and he had immediately pushed into Saeed and was gunned down by another duo. Joined up with them, came over to my location, and I assimilated into that team. And as the round went on, I was towards the end of the round. I was killed in a team fight, and I just happened to spectate one of the two random guys that my teammate had assimilated with when he died. And it killed him, and I saw one of them in the middle of a fight, and I could tell that he was using aimbot and possibly walls as well. And I attempted to, as soon as I saw this, I attempted to report him. His name did not show up in the report menu. His name later did not show up in the recent menu. So I was unable to get a report off. I was able to call him out in the lobby chat, and I gave him an earful over the microphone before he muted me. But I just want to apologize for playing with a cheater. I had no idea, and I typically do not pick up or assimilate into other squads unless I'm playing solo. And of course, if I can tell that whoever I join or assimilate with is not cheating. If I have any suspicion that they're cheating, the only reason I would join their squad or be picked up by them would be to be able to report them. That seems the best way for the ricochet system to work, is actually if you are killed by a cheater, picked up by them, and then able to report them and start spamming that report. And I have seen that happen with my own eyes. Cheaters getting ricocheted through that system in that way I just spoke of. So I despise cheaters. I don't even support the game's pay-to-win features. The the bundles, the gear that you can buy with real world money. Um, it's just it's a dishonest way uh, to run a game, and uh, it's of course not respectable at all to do any sort of cheating. I don't even do any glitches or exploits in the game. Um, Even though there are no penalties for doing it, it's just an honor thing. Um, the only exploit I will use is the liquor glitch in Koche for cash. And I don't even, I used to feel bad about doing that, but um, if I weren't, able to exploit the liquor glitch, I don't think I would ever have any cash or uh, to, and if Koche wasn't itself a dead map, I don't think I'd have any cash or contraband ever to regain with, and I'd have a very difficult time continuing to play the game. Starting off, naked, playing the game honestly, going into fights, dying, and having no way to regain. I don't want to play a passive survivalist playstyle all the time to, protect what little gear I might have. I would rather play the game as it's intended to be played. I'd rather have fun with the game and PvP and try to challenge myself as a gunfighter. And I don't want to, the game in this state, if you're trying to play the game honestly, uh, if you're a player, you know how difficult it is to do, um, just to survive, you know, doing missions, um, doing contracts for cash. Uh, Even if you're not, you know, cheaters are PvP players. They're dishonest PvP players, but um, they all they're concerned with is hunting, and that's what the majority of the players are concerned with these days, is just hunting, whether they're honest or not. And it is very hard to survive with no gear, going in with, a one plate, no guns. Um, so I'd like to also just, if anyone is an absolute purist out there and they don't do even, you know, the liquor glitch for cash, I'd like to apologize to them for using that one exploit in the game. I feel that if the game were still supported, I wouldn't be doing anything like that. But I just wanted to kind of clear the air and emphasize to you guys that I love this game. This is the best Call of Duty that game mode that they've released in 15 years. It brought me back to the franchise, and it's an absolute shame what's happened to the game and how big of a fumble the game is, and how frustrating the anti-cheat system actually is. But we're going to fly solo here. It's pretty late into the night and nobody is on, and I don't like to play with people I don't know, because I don't know who to trust. And I don't want to accidentally put myself into a squad of cheaters unbeknownst to me. Sometimes I'll use the find a party system but I never use the squad fill system anymore, because you never know who you're going to get, how competent they are, how honest they are, how old they are. um, I would rather play with adult men like myself, rather than with 12-year-olds or whatnot. Um, so, and I also just enjoy the challenge of playing solo or as a duo in a game that was originally built for, up to 6-man assimilation. Um, but that last session, I was running the AP rounds instead of a muni box, even though I am a smoke and knives player. And let me tell you, that's a big adjustment to not have that muni box. I found myself worrying about ammunition a lot more, and even if you're playing in a squad, and you can't count on your squad mates to support you, um, so you really do have to be self-sufficient at all times. And I can go into that a little bit later, um, but anyway, so we were running the Geist there in duos, and I was using it in a lot of different situations, and man, does it really hit hard. If you can hit those shots, uh, and I do have the AP ammo type here for the weapon attachment, but it was really hitting like I was fighting players that were equipped with 3 plates while I was in a 1 or a 2 plate, and I was able to consistently break them, down them, um, just by attempting to be as accurate as I can, and at regular AR distances. And I was really happy with how hard that Geist was hitting. But I'm going to get set up here for a solo run. I'm not sure if I'm going to do some regains or some PvP yet, but I'll make a decision here in a moment. And I'm going to get a drink of water, and I'll be right back. All right. So I've got some. I am level cap, but I always like to put on some missions just to have some stuff to do in the background. And I have some missions here that are set up for any occasion. The extraction missions you can do as you're hunting or as you're playing a survivalist mode. And all 3 of these missions are good for crochet runs. Crochet is a themed Cold War era Soviet bunker system, It's a beautiful map. They put a lot of detail and a lot of work into that map, and I wish there were a way for it to be better accessed. I'm not talking about entry points, but rather the spawn times. If it was a separate map, or if there was some kind of different queuing system where where you could always guarantee that players were down there with you. Now, that being the case, it's a close quarters map, so it would be you know, it would be kind of like a B-21 explosives and shotgun style play style, which is not my preferred play style at all. But it would be nice to have maybe some kind of like random generation down there. Um, some kind of different world settings, or something where the map changes slightly, where it's, people still play Ashika, Vondel, and Al-Mazrah because of their size, relative to Kosh, and because it's very easy to get into those maps. You just select the map and go. But Kosh, you have to, Kosh is a map within a map. It's kind of a dungeon in gaming terms, but there is a dead drop down there. There's a buy station. There are two different buy stations actually, um, but there's not a workbench, and that's probably for the best. But it is annoying as a player that uses Koche to regain that there's not a workbench. I would like to fix up weapons as I'm down there, but I use the Koche map to regain um, for backpack and armor systems, for cash, and for contraband weapons. And that is manageable to do as a solo, even though it is what the game would classify. Hey, welcome in, guys. What the game would classify as a high threat map. It's full of tier 2 and tier 3 bots, a lot of traps, puzzles, um, sentry turrets. Uh, you don't have as much playtime down there. The gas starts moving very quickly compared to the other maps. Um, but all those, difficulties aside, because of the state of the game, the map is relatively unpopulated. And if you have a good sense of your way around that map, you can start, you know how to take fights, kind of flanking routes. Um, the map also encourages you to play in a different play style. If you're more of a top side, if you're a sniper, you'll have to adjust your play style accordingly. You'll have to start using SMGs, ARs, shotguns, and what my favorite thing to do is to switch up my lethals and tacticals down there, because you're dealing with different threats. This is a lethal and a tactical setup that is for open air. A smoke grenade is going to be used to cross open air between cover, to reposition, and you can use smokes in a compressed map setting, but um, you have so many other tactical options, and these are much better fighting options for you in corridors and tight spaces. Um, you can only smoke to push through, or smoke to retreat. Um, in so many ways, but oftentimes you're going to want to use some kind of area denial tool, like a shock stick. You're going to want to flash in to rush a player. You could even use a decoy to make them think that there are more of you than there really are, or to confuse them. You know, snapshots are huge in a place like Kosh, just to get a glimpse of where somebody is, if they're holding an angle, if they're camping in a corner somewhere. Um, the only thing that's useless in Kosh would be like the spotter scope. And but even the smoke, if you have like a thermal optic or something, or um, you know, or even just with like the passive aim assist, somebody can, you know, if you have a laser on your gun, for example, somebody might be able to see that through smoke, and if you're smoking in to rush them, you know, just be able to pre-fire you. But there are many other lethals, and there are armored bots down there, shield bots. So the thermites, the Molotovs, and the Simtexes are very nice, as well as the drill charges. Even just regular frag grenades are nice in those tight spaces. And so when I get down there, I'll immediately equip a different type of tactical grenade. Like my preferred one would be a flash. The reason for that is that it gives you, it blinds the player, but it also deafens the player for a short time. And if you're set up correctly with a stun grenade, if you're holding an angle properly, you can actually fire through that. You don't have any visual impairment other than the you know, like the kind of motion blur effect. But if you're holding an angle properly, you can actually still shoot a guy down through a smoke, whereas that's much harder to do through a flash. But I think for solo runs especially, you don't want to rely on the AP rounds. You want to go for a utility, something like a munitions box or an armor box, or even like a portable radar or a recon drone, just to give yourself better eyes on the situation, more intel, and make better decisions. But let's see. Let's take a look at our contraband stash and see what we have to work with. If we're going to fix up any weapons, we have to do that topside Maz, because there is not a workbench in Kosh. But we still have room to collect some more contraband slots. And we're also about halfway through our wallet limit. But I don't think I really need to go into Kosh for a regain. I am, you know, close to fully kitted. I could always use a kill streak and a large bag, but the most important thing is that plate carrier system. You have to have a 3-plate to give yourself a fighting chance, no matter what you're doing in DMZ. So I think I'll start out topside Maz, and if we can see that the lobby is full of glitchers and cheaters, we might move into Kosh for some simple regain stuff. But I think we'll probably continue to run the Geist or some other type of AR. I don't think there are any ARs that I think I'll have all the ARs max level, except for the Chimera, which I don't use. I could level up the Chimera, but I haven't seen it. I've never been killed by a Chimera and thought, you know, oh man, what was that guy using? That's a great weapon. But last stream, or a stream or two ago, I was actually working to unlock a muzzle device for horizontal recoil control, which is the hardest type of recoil control to mitigate, no matter your input. And that muzzle device was the TY LR8, and on this platform, for whatever reason, that's the only muzzle device that will give you horizontal recoil control only. It doesn't have the Komodo Heavy option, and I didn't want to weigh the gun down further with a suppressor. I don't want to sacrifice any more ADS time or other handling stats. And I was concerned with making the weapon as accurate as possible. And the Geist, if you've never used it before, has very bad, like notorious, random left and right gun kick. And I'll show that to you real quick. I'll turn this down so I don't blast you. If we go here, and it's just a zero attachment Geist. And my stick drift on this controller is pretty bad. You can see here that left and right gun kick, and there's no way you're going to be able to control for that, especially at range. So we ended up getting that unlocked, and the unlock sequence was actually 2 different marksman rifles that you had to level up. And so I was actually taking those into Kosh and opening all the locked doors that I could find, all the spawn doors in the dark zone, and all the other doors. And that is the fastest way I've found to gain experience points. And so that only took a couple, less than a handful of runs to completely max out 2 different weapons that I'd never used before. And I was very happy with the performance that muzzle device gave me. That's part of my final build on the weapon. And this is what that final build is looking like. We have a 45 round mag with AP rounds. We have the Bridle 60 semi-heavy barrel. We have that TY LR8 muzzle device for horizontal recoil control, and we have an ADS laser, the VLK, the 7 milliwatt. And I'm really liking this setup. It's very fast and responsive, and it hits very hard. And the major drawback to using a weapon like this is, of course, the magazine size. You only have 45 rounds to play with. It takes a little bit getting used to. But I'm just going to quickly I can't think of any attachments off the top of my head that I really need. So I'll probably take a look at that at a later time. But let's see what we want to do. I think what we'll want to do is start getting some ARs for contraband. And I'm going to take a look here and see if I have any secondaries could build out this Bass P at a workbench. Could build out the Lockman sub. I don't think I have a finalized build for the Lockman sub. Yeah, I don't even have my own build. But this build here is I think it's the only 5 attachment ground loot Lockman sub build that you'll find in the game. And this weapon will always drop from the sniper in Koche, and you'll find this weapon in like military lockers and stuff as ground loot in topside Maz. And I've become accustomed to this. This is not the ideal setup for the Lockman sub, but it is still very usable, and that's because the Lockman sub, the base weapon, is so good. Instead of a 50 round mag, you're gonna really typically want to run a 40 round mag, and that's for mobility purposes. You don't really need those extra 10 rounds on the Lockman because of the damage per round of the weapon is so high already. It's better to take that mobility over more bullets. But we may actually want to work on a Lockman sub build very quickly. And as we're building a weapon out, you want to build a weapon one attachment at a time. You don't want to kind of game it out in your head and start putting on, all 5 attachments right off the bat, because you're not going to get the true performance of the weapon, and you're going to be missing out on the best builds, on the builds that mesh with your playstyle. And so if you build a weapon out one attachment at a time, you have more time to analyze each attachment and its effects on the weapon's handling. But we know that we're not going to be running a 30 round mag on the thing, and we know that we don't have to run a 50 round mag because the base damage is so high already, so we can comfortably put a 40 round mag on there, no problem. I'm just going to switch controllers real quick. And so now I will take the weapon into firing range and start looking at the recoil pattern and all the other handling characteristics of the weapon. So before you start shooting, you actually just want to move with the weapon and see what it feels like in your hand to be moving with it. With any weapon, you're going to be moving with it more than you're going to be shooting with it. So you need to get a sense for how fast and how mobile you are with the weapon. And so we can tell that this weapon is a very high mobility weapon. It's a very fast ADS time, and it's a very good sight picture as well with irons. I'm also kind of working up a little bit of a warm-up in here. Although I did play earlier today, I'm now cold. I've taken several hours off, and I really need to get my centering down. I'm going to set this guy in the middle, and I'm going to start strafing and attempting to hold my crosshairs as perfectly center mass as possible on the guy. Just walking kind of at a medium speed. So slower speed. And the controller I'm using here is kind of beat up, so the analog sticks are not as crispy as they could be, but it's also a user issue. It's a finger problem, finger brain problem. Adjusting my seating position a little bit, get me more comfortable and relaxed. I'm playing on a TV monitor, and it's a pretty big TV, so I'm sitting very close to it. It's not intended as a gaming monitor. Don't know what the refresh rate on this thing is, but I've just recently figured out how to switch it to a gaming mode, which gave me seems like it gave me like maybe double the frames, or so if you are playing on a TV, a newer TV, a smart TV, you would want to go through the settings and try to fine tune that, try to find a gaming mode if one is available. It usually gives you something equivalent to like a higher refresh rate, better color and saturation. And you also want to adjust your brightness and contrast levels to be easier on your eyes, especially if you're playing in a darkened room, as I almost always am. Slide, slide. Alright, and so now we're going to start shooting with the weapon. And figuring out how it feels in full auto, what the recoil is. I'm going to take a look at the recoil pattern really quickly. So that's pretty straight up and down with a little bit of a left-right bobble at the beginning. I'm getting a better sense of the weapon now. It's a very high mobility weapon, so even ADS walking is very, very quick. slide there. So, what do we want to go for next? I have seen a lot of guys run one of these two rifle stocks on it. this a Mark 1. .40 round mag. Mirror recoil 56 factory stock. Point G3P hip fire laser. Lacerta compensator hex 40 vertical foregrip. I think that will be the build priority. Actually, I think we're going to do 40 round mag first. Factory stock. Underbarrel. Laser. I will do mag, stock, laser, underbarrel, muzzle. just messing around with, well, we're being serious about expanding our arsenal. Bass P is a very popular SMG. Um, Not as popular as the Vel, but you'll find the Bass P a lot, and because so many people use it, there are so many so many wrong ways that people set it up. So I'm just figuring out a way that I like to run it so that when I do find a Bass P, I can fix it and know what I'm doing at a workbench. for whatever reason, I seem to be more accurate with the long barrel. It doesn't say that it gives you any recoil stats, just damage range, hip fire accuracy, bullet velocity, but maybe the hip fire accuracy has something to do with the hip fire toggling I'm doing, but even at range when I'm fully locked into ADS, it still feels more accurate. Geist to be able to reach out as far as possible and be as accurate at distance as possible, but the Geist is really a kind of a short range AR. And you kind of want to use it in the short and medium distances and try not to waste your ammunition and waste time reloading on long range engagements. You're better off using that time repositioning, trying to get a little bit closer to get in that sweet spot for its damage. Guys, I'm going to cut this one here and resume shortly. Take care of some stuff IRL. And I'll catch you guys very soon for part 2.